Well, I am going to start with good morning. Um, I am AG Canning, and this is the first time that I'm doing a bit of a candid video. So it's not going to be professional by any means. I was hoping to be recording my next digital picture book, but last week, at the end of the week and over the weekend, obviously my voice does not sound right. I came down with a pretty brutal voice by Friday and Saturday. I actually had none, and I was squeaking a lot and actually started to sound like Tiny Tim. If any of you know him, he's a very, very funny dude in the UK that has this funky voice that he makes prank calls with. And that's who I thought that I was sounding like. But my husband reckons that I sounded like Selma from The Simpsons, which is 1,000 times worse than I'd ever hoped to hear or sound like. But anyway, I thought I would take advantage of the time that I had this morning and just do a video introducing myself a little bit as an author. So I've titled this Messy Crossed Out Lines, and I feel like the messy part of it, I definitely contribute to that word this morning with my voice. So bear with me, guys, and here we go. So to begin with, I found a quote that I've written in a notebook. And trust me, I've got a lot of notebooks. I've collected a lot of journals over the years, and I'm going to start sharing some of that stuff from a personal point of view and share a lot of my writing journey. So every story begins somewhere, and this extract is from a notebook that I wrote when I just felt like writing back when I was in my 20s. So anyway, I just wrote this little blurb. It's not even a blurb, it's not a story, it's just a piece of writing. It says, "My most explosive nightmare happened as a direct result of my nan's advice to count sheep when I couldn't sleep. It is true, I have had a lot of sleep issues my entire life. I have a condition that is known as hypervigilance, which means that I'm permanently in fight or flight mode. And that's something that I'm currently starting to learn a little bit more about. I lay wide awake, uncomfortable, hot and bored out of my mind, trying desperately to fall asleep. Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. I fought, but my mind busily processed everything that had occurred throughout the day. I squeezed my eyes shut. I imagined one big woolly sheep crossing the path of my third eye, trampling more like clean across my forehead. Then came another and another. 1, 2, 3, 4. I steadily counted sheep after sheep as they meandered aimlessly. Suddenly I stood in a large field. The air bit my skin as I hugged myself. A spray of goosebumps formed on my arms, legs, and raced up the back of my neck. I tingled and shivered as the freezing air consumed me. I was butt-ass naked. Sheep. Everywhere I looked there were more sheep. Their large dark eyes intimidated me. I silently stepped back. They stepped forward, inevitably in my direction. Huge rams with bony curled horns stared at me. Large clods of mud had attached to their thick matted wool. They stomped and trod the ground. A big woolly unison of hooves ready to stampede and trample me. I cowered in fear, embarrassed of my nakedness, unable to run or scream or even move to save myself. Suddenly, a glimpse of a large black blob far beyond the hundreds of sheep caught my eye, and it was an old wagon drawn by a single mule. A man dressed in a clown suit sat up front. "Ahoy!" I yelled. Ahoy? What the hell did I yell ahoy for? This wasn't the ocean, and it certainly wasn't a boat or ship or canoe. The wave of sheep moved forward again, heads down, prepared to butt me and push me into a type of conformity I definitely wasn't familiar with. "Shh, it's all right." I heard a gentle voice whisper, "The rams are gone now." I opened my eyes. There's my Nan sitting on the bed beside me. I shook from the cold. My nightie was torn from violently tossing and turning. "No more sheep counting for you," she said. So anyway, I found this in a folder that I have that's full of all of my handwritten drafts, just stuff that I write, and it's chock-a-block, and I'm going to start sharing it. Anyway, so to continue. So last night when I was considering how to do this little clip today, I'm still very much learning how to do the tech side of things, and YouTube is something that I thought I'd start with, and the best way that I know how is to use PowerPoint. So anyway, I've been mucking around with these little designs and stuff. And while I was sort of doing that, it did remind me a little bit of when I started to want to be a writer. And I know that I have put in some of my recent videos that I have been writing for a really long time, but the truth of it is I started writing when I was probably maybe 13. I wrote like little stories and poems just for the fun of it at home sometimes. It was a bit of an outlet for me, and I'll endorse more about that later. But when I was 14, believe it or not, that was when the man that I'm married to, Glenn, and I first met. So I'm just going to read the little blurb that I've put beside here, because he was a significant part of my writing at the time. When I was 14, living in Murwillumbah, I used to write poems about my husband, who was obviously my boyfriend back then, Glenn, who lived all the way down in Muswellbrook. There was no Facebook back then, so we relied on snail mail, and those letters were treasures to me, each one tucked safely away and reread countless times. I poured my heart into a stack of poems about Glenn. Silly schoolgirl love poems perhaps, but well written all the same. And then I was strict about poetic form, metre and rhyme mattered deeply. Free verse always felt like a cop-out to me. It lacked the discipline that makes poetry sing. So I still believed in that. When I went to uni and studied English pretty intensively, writing poetry was very easy until I started to learn it at uni. And it's not easy. Anyone can write a free verse poem, but I wanted my poetry to be structurally sound, to follow proper poetry conventions and rules. I wanted to write great poetry. I hope that's okay, and I haven't offended anyone by saying that free verse is a cop-out, but I think it is. Anyone can write that. But can you write a really well-structured sonnet or a hexameter or, other types of poems? So that was something that I explored way back when Glenn and I were writing letters to each other. So anyway, I mentioned that I have a folder full of my writing, and I've just got a picture here of what I have in the very front of it. I don't think the picture really tells you too much, maybe a little bit, but the folder is chock-a-block full of my stuff. And on the front, I've written this. It was something that I plucked out of one of my journals, and it says, "There's something special in discovering the handwritten work of a writer. Famous or not, the work is an intricate part of the writer's mind that we'd never know if they hadn't written it down." And just underneath there, I've written my name. Obviously, that was before I married Glenn, because we've only been married for 3 years. So my name has changed since then. So I'm just going to read what I've written there to go with that picture. I kept most of my handwritten drafts tucked neatly in a folder, tangible proof of my creative beginnings. This first page holds a quote that I used to share with students during my creative writing workshops, a reminder of the value of process. I've always preferred handwriting my first drafts. It helps me untangle thoughts without the distraction of keyboards and screens. There's something grounding about pen and paper. The rhythm of ink flowing and the satisfaction of watching a pen slowly run dry. I get such a kick out of running pens out of ink, and I've been doing a lot of handwriting drafts this year, and I'm so proud to say that I have now officially wiped out 8 pens so far at home just doing my scribbling for my drafts. It's very cool. So one of my novellas that I've written a couple of them, 3 I think, is called Diminuendo. I started to write this years and years ago. I just happened to take a notebook with me when we were going out west to see my beautiful friends Dale and John, who were incredibly important people to me. Years and years ago, I can't remember what year exactly, but I was just making notes about different things that people say, and because I'm a bit of a people watcher, and trying to record the way that people, like traits and little things that I can put into my stories, like they stopped and scratched their nose or shifted on their foot or just adjusted their jumper or whatever. And I started to play with a couple of characters, and Scott came out. So Scott ended up being the protagonist of this little novella, which is probably more of a parable when I look at the structure of it. Anyway, I'm not going to tell too much about Scott because Scott's a bit busy at the moment. The love of his life is a character, and her name is Dominique. And I'm not going to let on too much about her either because she is definitely also busy, meaning that those drafts, which you can see, I've got a picture there of some of my draft copies. I red pen the crap out of my own stuff, probably too much sometimes. That's why I've got to a point where I'm like, you know what, it's just time to put them out and be done with it and leave them out. So I'm just going to read this little blurb that I've written as long as my voice holds out. I remember when I first began writing my novella Diminuendo, though truthfully it's more of a parable than a traditional narrative. That poor story has been through the ringer, rewritten and redrafted more times than I care to admit. Eventually you reach a point where you have to let the baby go, send it into the world to stand on its own. That's the stage that I'm at now. So Diminuendo is in proofing stages at the minute, and I'm thrilled to watch it evolve. Scott and Dominique deserve to be read. Their tale is tender and tragic, a love story so haunting that even Shakespeare would have approved. And again, here's just one of my, a picture of one of my drafts, a couple of them actually. So anyway, I definitely hope that this short little video just starts to build a very, very small picture of me as a writer. Like I said before, I am going to share other stuff over time. I feel that I'm ready. I'm ready to do this, and I'm ready to do this on like a holistic level for no other reason than myself. I've reached a point in my writing life where I'm finally willing to reimagine everything simply because I'm no longer afraid of what people will think. For years I used to tell myself, feel the fear and do it anyway. But now I don't believe in fear at all. It's smoke, nothing more. Did you hear that? There's no such thing as fear. Just do it. So I'm going for it fully and unapologetically, and I'm putting my name on the work without hesitation. A.G. Canning is My married name, I know that I haven't let on my first name, but lots and lots of people know my first name. After marrying my beautiful Glenn in 2023, 30 years after those letters between Murwillumbara and Muswellbrook occurred, I'm the happiest I've ever been. Things aren't 100% the way that I would like things to be, but I'm definitely very, very happy in my relationship with my husband. Love my job as a teacher, and I'm really, really enjoying my work at the moment, my writing. That joy has cracked something open in me, and it's time for me to write boldly, and I'm not holding back. So anyway, here's a funky little picture of Glenn and I. We have a lot of fun together. He definitely has encouraged me, supported me in so many ways to follow my heart and just be who I need to be. And yeah, we're a pair of dickheads together, but we have a lot of fun and I adore him. Thanks, and I hope you enjoyed this funky little video.